last year called the telephone. So the telephone is something that is indeed used, and I guess it's CMC. They say it's CMC. Why not? But the main thing here, and they do talk about mobile phones, so that's really what they're talking about, not the old sort of landline dial-up thing. This is the point, 233, and this is what's important. The advent of the mobile phone has been particularly dramatic, has had particularly dramatic effects on long-distance friendships by facilitating frequent and inexpensive communication, though it still costs money. Again, you should always realize all this stuff still costs money. Mobile phones tend to be used to communicate with strong social ties, such as family members and close friends. Suggests that the telephone is a richer medium than email, for example, and allows close friends to more easily convey emotion and communicate about highly personal topics. In addition to the telephone, there are several methods of using computer-mediated channels that are commonly used, and they go on to talk about that. But basically, mobile phones and calling people and talking to them is one of the best ways to maintain long-distance friendships. That's basically it. That's that section, the two-paragraph section, that telephones are important. Talk to people. Okay. Slide 11. They moved this next section, email, how people use email. Again, within the context of friendship, one of the things that they say about email, as opposed to, again, face-to-face stuff, and perhaps opposed to telephone conversations, you can be more strategic because you can plan out what you want to type. And also with emails, remember, it can be asynchronous, which means you don't have to it doesn't have to be live. You can send an email to somebody and then they can respond, 3 months later. Low cost and convenient, sort of, I guess, depending if webmails are down or not. And folks do use email differently. They say, I'll let you read that, but also it depends on the situation. It depends on the friendship. One of the things, though, I think is really interesting is that some of the face-to-face sort of relational maintenance strategies can also be done, not only through the phone, but also via email. Also, here is the big stuff when it comes to email and friendship. What the book says oftentimes, because you don't have, remember that emails and CMC generally is sort of disembodied communication. It can be anonymous, and obviously, hopefully, you're not having an anonymous friendship with somebody. Maybe you are. I'm not one to judge. But oftentimes people might say stuff that's a little bit hyperbolic, and people might have a distorted view of the relationship and have what scholars have called this hyperpersonal, which basically you might think that the relationship is stronger and better than it actually is. And that can be sort of dangerous. But there's also a lot of other stuff I think that is missed. Remember, because of the idea of not being there physically. Oftentimes friends say things they would never say face-to-face, the whole flaming stuff. So there are some dangers there, I think, that the book does not talk about, but nonetheless, there's some interesting information there. Slide number 12, or as we say, for those of us who can speak Spanish, slide 12-o. And basically, this is about instant messaging, also known as synchronous texting. And so I have this little meme here. I just called to say I love you. Okay, I sent a text instead. Riffing off of our wonderful Stevie Wonder. So the stuff in the next section is about texting. And one of the main things it says is that it can add intimacy to already existing face-to-face friendships. So more than often it's used as a way to maintain friendships. There are some dangers, and this is like a one paragraph little section, and there's some dangers there that the book doesn't go into at all, that we'll get into when we get to the dark side. But as I said, there are some dangers with the whole texting thing. And also, basically, they don't say too much. Basically, they just say about when it comes to friendships, it's an excellent way. Texting is an excellent way to add intimacy to an already existing face-to-face friendship. That's pretty much it. Okay, the next section. So slide 14 now. SNS and friendships. Remember, SNS stands for social networking sites. So basically, they are talking about Facebook. And there's a whole lot of stuff they say here about Facebook and friends. And really, I have come to the conclusion that really the only way to truly have a close personal friendship with somebody is through Facebook. So there's a lot of really interesting research that's been done about issues of friendship and Facebook. One of the things that I thought was most interesting was some of the stuff from Boyd and Ellison, and I'm on the top of page 235. Here's another little thing to mark, as I say, and this is really, really important. A lot of social networking sites, whether it be LinkedIn or whatever, truly focus on networking or relational initiation among strangers based on shared interest, activities, languages, or identities. And there's all sorts of those support groups that we have talked about previously, or all sorts of other things. However, Boyd and Ellison contend that most social network sites users are not necessarily networking or looking to meet new people. Instead, they are primarily communicating with people who are already part of their extended social network. So even as you might meet new people on Facebook, they at least argue that for the most part, what you're doing is extending already established face-to-face friendships or reconnecting with folks. So that's basically what they're talking about. And there's, they talk about friending, they talk about all this different stuff, and how they talk about how many people are on Facebook, and it's really, I think every single person on the globe is on Facebook, all 13 billion. But basically what they're saying here is that there are some dangers there, because obviously folks tend to, and we've talked about this before, maybe disclose too much information on Facebook. But one of the things that I thought was pretty interesting is that you can have actually more close friends on Facebook. So if you don't use CMC and you're lonely, basically the book is saying get on Facebook, because you can actually maintain friendships and create really good close relationships and have more close friendships via Facebook than your regular face-to-face brand of communication. They also talk, and we've talked about this before, issues of impression management and perception. And that stuff I think is pretty important. It's sort of a repeat of some of the things that we've talked about before. Basically what it says is that some researchers have investigated the manner in which friendship is performed, blah, 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 blah. Tong found that Facebook users with relatively high or relatively low numbers of friends cast off less favorable impressions of themselves. So you want to have more friends. That's it. Yeah, the more friends, the better. Moreover, Walther, Vanderhyde, Kim, Westerman, and Tong found that observers' perceptions of an individual user are related to the attractiveness of the user's network of friends. SNS users can manage their self-presentation through strategic inclusion of certain friends in their profile content. So again, we're dealing with impression management. It doesn't really say how this impacts friendships per se, but I guess again, people perceive you as more attractive and better if you have a lot of good-looking friends. That's basically what it says. And there's also some more interesting information about this concept that we've talked about before called social capital. And basically, even loose connections on Facebook, even if you're not close friends with somebody, those types of relationships are not to be devalued, they say. They talk about how the whole bridging social capital and bonding social capital, maintain social capital, and I'll let you sort of read some of that stuff. But basically, this idea is that the through Facebook, you can build a sense of social capital that creates or sustains or maintains various perceptions of you, but also impacts your friendships. For instance, bridging social capital, which is a large heterogeneous network of weak ties between friends and acquaintances, that's what that is. The weak ties can be particularly helpful for young adults seeking employment or other opportunities. Remember how we talked about weak ties versus strong ties? So, the whole weak tie theory, even though you might not have, these folks on Facebook might be acquaintances, or you just met them or face to face at some place, and then you're trying to get a job or something like that. That can be good. And also, Steinfeld observed that Facebook users can browse their friends' profiles and thereby gain valuable information that can subsequently lower the barriers to initiating communication in face-to-face and online settings. So basically, something like Facebook can facilitate smoother and more comfortable face-to-face interaction. So again, we see the merging. We see this idea of convergence. We see this idea of merging, where CMC and FTF is merging here within this context of friendships. And the whole idea of bonding social capital, maintain social capital, basically what it's saying there, Ellison, this is from Ellison, reported that Facebook use is especially beneficial for young adults with low self-esteem. We've talked about this before, and low life satisfaction. After reflecting on the body of research about Facebook, Steinfeld or Field argue that rather than dismissing large Facebook networks as shallow or superficial, having like 5 million friends, researchers should recognize Facebook's increasingly central role in relationship initiation, development, and maintenance. So, Facebook is good. That's basically what they're saying. It's huge, it's important, and it is a huge part of contemporary CMC society and how people are maintaining friendships. That's basically the whole gist of it. 15, the web of CMC channels, slide 15. And basically what they're saying here is that it's important to maintain CMC ties with your canine friends. So basically what they're saying is that none of these different avenues or channels exist or are mutually exclusive. People don't just use Facebook. People who tend to use CMC have mobile phones, they have smartphones, they text, they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on Tumblr, they're on Pinterest, they're on Instagram, they do Vines, they do all of these things. So within this landscape or this avenue of friendship, we're doing all of these things all at the same time. And basically what they say, the more channels we use, the better. At least for college students, they say, because you probably have figured out that most social scientific research, the participants are college students, and they're getting bonus in their introduction to public speaking class. But nonetheless, that's basically what they're saying. So in the middle of page 236 here, friendship closeness. Friendship closeness. how close you are with another person, your friend.